This video provides a brief overview of California's Accountability and Continuous Improvement System. This is intended to provide a high-level summary of state and federal requirements, along with the role of the County Office of Education in supporting districts and schools. With the inception of the Local Control Funding Formula, or LCFF, nearly a decade ago, California's system of support began to evolve. As part of LCFF, local educational agencies, or LEAs, which includes school districts and charter schools, are required to write a local control and accountability plan, or LCAP, to describe how they are expending resources to support students. Annual outcome data is published on the California School Dashboard, which launched in 2017. California's system of support was also being developed to connect LEAs with agencies to provide additional support. The goal of the system of support is to help districts and schools to meet the needs of each student they serve. The California School Dashboard is an integral component of California's Accountability and Continuous Improvement System. The dashboard publishes student outcomes associated with the 8 state priorities established under LCFF. The 8 state priorities either have a state indicator, as noted in the blue cells on this slide, or a local indicator as noted in the gray cells. State indicator data is extracted from various information systems, including CalPADS and test administration systems, while local indicator data is entered into the dashboard by each LEA's dashboard coordinator. Local indicators are entered on an annual basis. One important note about county offices of education is that COEs have 2 additional state priorities relating to services for foster youth and expelled students. These additional priorities require local indicator data to be entered on the dashboard. On the 2022 California School Dashboard, California changed the visual representation of the state indicator outcomes from performance level colors to status level bars. This is because performance level colors are based on tiers of data resulting from both status, which represents the most recent annual outcomes, and change, which is the difference between the most recent data and prior year outcomes. Since we did not have a dashboard in 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we only have 1 year of annual outcome data based on the 21-22 school year. This results in displaying only 1 year of status on the 2022 dashboard. It is also important to note that the suspension rate and chronic absenteeism rates are reverse indicators, meaning that very low is the highest performance, while very high is the lowest performance. Ideally, our students would have very low suspension rates and chronic absenteeism rates. Based on dashboard outcomes, LEAs may be eligible for support services. California's Accountability and Continuous Improvement System is based on a 3-tiered system. At the base of this pyramid is general assistance, which includes resources and assistance that is made available to all local educational agencies. Many of the services provided by county offices of education are considered Tier 1 general assistance. Tier 2 is differentiated assistance. LEAs that meet certain eligibility criteria based on dashboard outcomes for their student groups may be in need of additional support that is provided by the County Office of Education. Tier 3 is intensive intervention and is designed for LEAs with persistent performance issues over a period of time. On the December 22 dashboard, only state indicators were used to determine eligibility for assistance. Local indicators were not used due to the lack of 2 years of data. Additionally, the college career indicator was not available on the 2022 dashboard, since high school seniors in the 21-22 school year did not take Smarter Balanced assessments during their 11th grade year in 2021. Assessment results are part of the college career indicator. The college career indicator will be published again in December 2023. Eligibility for Tier 2 differentiated assistance is based on California School Dashboard outcomes. A district is eligible for DA if any student group has the lowest status for more than 1 LCFF priority area on the California School Dashboard. As an example, if a student group has very low status in the academic indicator in both ELA and math, and very high chronic absenteeism, then the district would be eligible for DA based on the outcomes for that student group. The county office's role in providing differentiated assistance is outlined in Education Code 52071, which states that the county superintendent of schools shall provide technical assistance focused on building the school district's capacity to develop and implement actions and services responsive to pupil and community needs. This includes, number one, assisting the school district to identify strengths and weaknesses in a collaborative manner. Since county offices of education typically do not have access to district's current year local data, it is necessary to collaborate with the district to analyze local data to determine areas of need and opportunities for support. Number two, county offices must work collaboratively with the school district to secure assistance from academic, programmatic, or fiscal experts to identify and implement effective programs and practices that are designed to improve performance. Number three, county offices must obtain timely documentation from the school district demonstrating that it has completed the activities described in number one and number two. This is typically done through the LCAP process. Ongoing communication continues between the COE and LEA teams with periodic check-in meetings and support services offered by the COE to the LEA. Until this point in the video, we've been summarizing the state's accountability and continuous improvement system under LCFF. Another element of our accountability system comes from the U.S. Department of Education. In addition to LCFF state accountability, which drives our state accountability and support system, we also have a complementary federal accountability system established as part of the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, signed by former President Barack Obama in 2015. ESSA was a reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, or ESEA, of 1965, which had previously been reauthorized under the Bush administration as No Child Left Behind, or NCLB. Each state was required to develop an ESSA state plan to meet ESSA requirements and receive federal funding, such as Title I, Title II, Title III, and so forth. Each state's ESSA state plan was developed using a template provided by the U.S. Department of Education to describe elements in our education system, including, but not limited to, our assessment system, our statewide accountability system, school support and improvement activities, our state long-term goals, along with how the state meaningfully differentiates support for schools. Similar to our LCFF state accountability, our ESSA state plan accountability descriptions are also based on California school dashboard outcomes. For those of us who have been in the field of education for more than 10 years, you'll recognize that this differs from prior accountability eras when we had a different measure for state and federal accountability. You may remember state accountability was measured with the Academic Performance Index, or API, which was implemented concurrently with federal Adequate Yearly Progress, or AYP accountability. Even though both were based on annual test scores, they were calculated differently, causing confusion for schools and districts. To meaningfully differentiate support for schools, there is a series of hierarchical school support eligibility categories. This means that schools can only be eligible for one category in any given year. The first category is Comprehensive Support and Improvement, or CSI Low Graduation Rate. The second category is CSI Low Performing, and the third category, TSI or ATSI, is based on student group performance. We'll go into details about each of these three categories on the next slides. CSI low graduation rate consists of schools that have a combined 3-year graduation rate that is below 68%. This is based on dashboard graduation rate, which is a 4- and 5-year graduation rate. This differs from the adjusted cohort graduation rate that is published on DataQuest each year. The CSI graduation rate criteria applies to both Title I funded schools and schools that did not receive Title I funds. Schools must have graduation rate data for 2020, 2021, and 2022 to be eligible for support in this category. CSI low performing includes schools that are in the lowest performing 5% of schools. This is specific to Title I funded schools as required by ESSA. Identification of CSI low performing schools is based on dashboard outcomes at the all students level, not for individual student groups. Schools identified for TSI or ATSI is based on student group outcomes on the dashboard. Under California's ESSA state plan, schools that are not eligible for CSI may be eligible for TSI or ATSI based on their student group outcomes. Both Title I funded and non-Title I funded schools are eligible, which means that any school in California can be identified if they have student group data on the dashboard. You might be wondering, what is the difference between TSI and ATSI? Both of these support designations are required per ESSA. However, targeted support and improvement, or TSI eligibility, would typically be determined on an annual basis, while ATSI is determined every 3 years. California has not yet made school eligibility determinations for TSI. Only ATSI schools have been identified to this point. Since we do not have performance level colors on this year's dashboard, this year's eligibility criteria for CSI and ATSI are based on dashboard status. As previously mentioned, CSI is based on dashboard outcomes for all students, while ATSI is based on student group outcomes. There are 2 criteria this year. The first criteria is that all indicators are at the lowest status level on the dashboard. The second criteria is that all indicators are at the lowest status level with 1 indicator of any other status. It is important to note that it is possible that a school could be identified even if they only have 2 indicators with data on the dashboard. If 1 indicator is the lowest status and they have another indicator with another status, then they would be identified under the second criteria. California's ESSA state plan outlines the requirements for CSI and ATSI schools. This requires that an LEA, where the school is located, must collaborate with the school and educational partners to develop a school-level plan to improve student outcomes. The plan must be informed by state indicators, be based on a school-level needs assessment, identify resource inequities, and include evidence-based interventions. Evidence-based interventions are defined under ESSA as practices or programs that have evidence to show that they are effective at producing results and improving outcomes. The LEA and school must also partner to monitor and evaluate plan implementation and impact. Schools eligible for CSI and ATSI are able to use the School Plan for Student Achievement, or SIPSA, to meet planning requirements, provided that they address all of the ESSA requirements within their SIPSA. School districts are required to report how they are assisting their CSI schools within their LCAP. There is no requirement under ESSA or LCFF for LEAs to summarize TSI or ATSI support in their LCAP. However, LEAs must respond to CSI prompts in their LEA plan summary. COEs that have LEAs within their county that serve schools eligible for CSI are required to support LEAs to meaningfully address their CSI plan development and implementation activities, as well as to review and approve the CSI prompts in the LEA LCAP plan summary. COEs apply annually for CSI subgrants to the California Department of Education to secure resources to provide support to LEAs with CSI schools. Funding is not available for TSI or ATSI support. Additional information about ESSA requirements are posted on the AACI website under the Division of Educational Services. To conclude this video, let's review state and federal accountability requirements side by side. On the left, LCFF outlines state accountability, while on the right, ESSA outlines federal accountability. LCFF support is determined at the LEA or district level, while ESSA support is determined at the school level. Both state and federal systems have a tiered approach. LCFF includes general assistance, differentiated assistance, and intensive intervention. ESSA includes general assistance, TSI or ATSI based on student group dashboard outcomes, followed by CSI for schools with low graduation rate or schools identified as the lowest performing 5%. LCFF requires LEAs to write an LCAP, while ESSA requires schools to develop a plan, which is typically done through the SIPSA. LEAs with CSI schools must respond to CSI prompts in the LCAP. Thank you for tuning into this informational webinar. Please contact members of the AACI team if you have additional questions.